back to the Doc B podcast. I'm Aaron Cook, Director of Program Evaluation and your host. Today we're spending some time with someone who plays a huge role in the day-to-day life of Clovis Unified's original high school. Our guest is Baljit Gill, Deputy Principal of Clovis High. Baljit grew up in the Bay Area, built an early career outside of education, and at a certain point found himself wanting the same kind of childhood for his own kids that he experienced growing up. That desire led him and his wife to Clovis, where their kids could ride bikes, play at the park, and grow up in a community that values families and schools. That move also sparked a brand new chapter for Baljit. He made the leap into education, found his passion working with students, and eventually found his way to Clovis Unified and Clovis High, where he now serves students, staff, and families every single day. Baljit, I'm really glad you're here. Thanks for joining us. Why don't you start by sharing your story? Who are you? What's your current role? And how did your journey from the Bay Area ultimately lead you to Clovis Unified?
All right, thank you for doing this. My name is Baljit Gill. I'm the Deputy Principal at Clovis High School. My brother got me into engineering and I ended up with a degree in computer science. I programmed in the Bay Area for .coms, and when that bubble burst, I found myself trying to refocus. When we set up at the same time, my wife was a teacher. So I was envious of her stories and the things she did with kids and what she was doing in the classroom. And I was like, man, I want that. So I found myself taking my CSETs in math. I enrolled in Fresno State's San Joaquin Valley Math Project. And I met educators who had an opening at their school and said, you should apply. And that's the only place I ended up applying that summer. It was out in Carruthers High School. I spent 10 years as a math teacher, cross-country coach, JV basketball coach, track and field coach. Track I loved the most. I found a lot of passion coaching kids in track and field. It was a great learning experience. I was a principal at a continuation school out there, very small, wore many hats. And then I found myself wanting to grow, and I felt like there was a step I skipped. And I ended up back at the high school as a VP, where I got to work with the English department. I got to work with bigger programs, the sports programs, which I have a heart for. Spending 10 years there was a good part of my early educational career. So that's my journey into education. And then the other part of that is the transition to Clovis Unified.
Who was it that helped you be the educator you are today?
One of my really good friends, who I'm still constantly in touch with, is Casey Limdren. Casey Limdren taught one door over to me, and I constantly found myself during my prep, after school, before school, working with her because we taught the same content areas. She was my rock. I leaned on her a lot in regards to, hey, how'd you teach this? Getting acquainted with lesson plans and reflecting on student performance. She taught me not only assessing student work, but at the same time engaging with kids and then taking a step back and working with one another. And she was a mentor of mine, and I learned a lot from her as far as how to teach.
Did Casey's mentorship shape the way you support new teachers and even veteran staff today?
Yeah, absolutely. That relationship started off, hey, I need some help with this. It evolved into, I consider her family to me. We spend so much time investing so much in one another. We've gone to graduation parties for our kids, and our relationship evolved over time. Professional, friendship, you consider it family as you get older and older, and you reflect on those good times, or reflect on how some of our new teachers and even our veteran staff come to us for help. You know, you kind of slow down and reflect on, how did I receive that mentorship? Part of that is, how did that person make me feel? Casey made me feel safe, like a little brother to her. Some staff members around here are the same age as my eldest kid, and we're hiring staff members that are new and taking care of them the way I was taken care of.
What was it about Clovis, both the city and the schools, that made you say, this is where we want to raise our kids?
From the Bay Area, we moved to Clovis Unified and the city of Clovis because it was very similar to how I grew up. The street that I grew up on is like a runway now. It's car after car. That didn't mirror how I grew up. We were the kids that jumped on our bicycles every day after school and we were gone. Every summer we were riding through the regional parks, and I wanted that for my kids. Moving to Clovis offered a lot of that. My kids grew up playing at the park every day across the street from our house. Our garage open, kids grabbing drinks from our refrigerator. That's what I wanted. That was a big plus as far as where you want to raise your kids and what educational school system to be a part of. Every parent nowadays is looking at that. We are a destination district. I was that parent that chose Clovis Unified as a destination.
How did you go from living in Clovis but working in Carruthers to finally joining Clovis Unified, and what made it feel like the right fit?
The first 10 years of living in Clovis, my wife worked in Clovis Unified. My 3 kids were in Clovis Unified. The running joke was, hey, Dad, you're the only outsider here. I started to look at Clovis Unified schools. There's a possibility for me to be working back in the community that I live in. When I transitioned from Carruthers to Clovis Unified, that opportunity came as a GIS at Clark Intermediate. Teresa Barber was the principal that hired me there, and that was my first Clovis Unified experience. When my wife got hired in Clovis Unified, I read Doc's charge she brought home. I was envious of that. A pretty powerful document that I'm thinking through the lens of an outsider, but I also read that through the lens of a parent. When I got my own Doc's charge, when I signed that contract as a GIS at Clark, I read it differently. I read through it as a teacher because I had already taught. But now I was coming in not only as a teacher, as a admin, but also as a parent. So I had a different lens on that document. I think about that moment a lot as far as what does that mean to me. My core values and beliefs weren't written to Doc's charge, but they aligned very closely. So that gel and merger for me was pretty seamless in regards to coming to Clovis Unified and doing what's best for kids and being that one adult that makes a difference in others. That was a powerful moment for me.
What was the biggest adjustment for you going from outside the district to inside Clovis Unified?
Carruthers was a great place. I learned a lot. Small administrative staff, which means you wear a lot of hats. You learn a lot. So I took that experience, brought it here, and the thing I learned quickly in Clovis Unified was when I needed help, I wasn't the end of the line. I was able to pick up the phone and call someone else in technology where I was the end. I was also the end in the safety world in Clovis Unified. When I got here, the biggest learning curve was the buck didn't stop with me. I had a lifeline. I can pick up the phone and call for a resource and someone's going to be able to help me work through that situation or whatever it might be. The easy part is knowing there's resources. The hard part is your drive better be there if you're working in Clovis Unified, especially as an administrator and as a teacher. The work our staff and administrators do, it's on another level. That's why we are who we are. I learned that quickly by observing some of the teachers that I started to build closer relationships, working with a counseling staff, serving 1,500 kids at Clark, and the amount of time and energy they poured into their craft. So you either have it or you don't. I feel I have that drive in me. I had that energy bus. That wasn't going to be the problem. It was learning systems, culture, and aligning core values. That's also the fun part of reinventing yourself.
Do you remember a moment when you realized, okay, this is the level of drive and teamwork here?
It was Institute Week at Clark, and we were going to be passing out schedules to 7th and 8th graders. Keep in mind, 750 7th graders, 750-ish 8th graders. And we found an error in student schedules where almost every schedule was impacted. That third night, we redid all the 7th grade schedules. Between the other learning director, the 2 counselors, and the GISs, the 6 of us sat in a room and got every 7th grader schedule ready. And the next night, Thursday night, we're back and we redid the same thing again. That goes back to that drive, work ethic, right? We were going to get it done no matter what happens. Those kids were not going to know the difference. They came in, they picked up a schedule, they had a full schedule. We often laughed about that experience. That was my first week within the district. We burned the midnight oil and got those schedules ready and came back the next night and we did it all again.
What's the biggest event you oversee, and what's it like really behind the scenes?
The granddaddy of them all is the Clovis High School graduation. Our first graduation meeting happens in September. We work tirelessly and visit that graduation timeline multiple times throughout the week. It's one of my biggest responsibilities. I take a lot of pride in putting on one of the premier events for our community, our parents, and our kids. On the surface, I'm thinking, okay, there's so many things I'm trying to keep a pulse on, but at the same time, remaining calm so everybody else that's playing a part in this, they don't see the craziness I see going on in my head. There's things that we go back and we reflect on, and we get emails and phone calls saying that was the greatest graduation. I'm from Texas and I was just visiting. How did you guys do that? That was fantastic. I wish our school did that. And that's the pride I get out of it on the back end.
So where does your drive come from, and what motivates you to push as hard as you do?
To not disappoint. There's folks that hire you and you don't want to let down. When I became deputy principal at Clovis High School, Stephanie Hanks was my principal. There was a drive and a work that I saw in her that I did not want to let her down. So I was working as hard to either keep up with her or learn from her and use that to sustain the things that she had built in the programs and the systems that she had put in place. That drive comes from not wanting to disappoint not only the people that hire you, but at the same time, our staff, our kids, and our community. And there's a responsibility you shoulder because you don't want to let these folks down.
What's the thing you never compromise on in Clovis Unified, and why?
It's high standards. Whether it's graduation, a wrestling tournament, a band event, those are opportunities to showcase our kids and put on a show for our community, our parents, and our kids that they deserve. First class events is what we aim for, and the only way we get there is if we hold ourselves to that high standard and we show others what that standard is. That comes through peeling back the layers, whether the chairs are in the right place, or do we have the right color tablecloths out there. There's a lens you learn from mentors and leaders when you walk into a room and you do a pre-event inspection. Are you noticing the fine details? Those are things I learned from Stephanie Hanks, Teresa Barber, Scott Dilley. At every single event, they still find one thing to point out to you. And I think that's their way of telling us where the standard is, but at the same time, are we constantly looking for how to make things better?
Do you remember an early moment as deputy principal when you realized, all right, okay, here's the level of attention I need to have here?
One of my first tasks at Clovis High as deputy principal came a summer before my first school year. Stephanie Hanks and I and our plant supervisor jumped in a golf cart and drove the campus, pointing out things on our campus and our facilities that needed to get touched up before the school year started or needed a work order. I remember she said, if you don't notice the grease on the door jambs, then who does? I think about that every time I see grease on the door jambs, whether it's at work, home, or a restaurant. You get programmed with a different lens once you've been trained in a certain way. That's one of my first experiences as a DP. I think it was more to see if I was going to actually be able to pull it off.
All right, so I'm kind of curious about this. As a DP, you are overseeing the entire facility. So that means you're looking at the walls and the ceilings and the roof and the paint of a campus. We take pride in ensuring that our campuses look great for our community. I'm curious, when you walk on other campuses around the valley or the state, do you have that Clovis curse where you're evaluating and judging the grounds in which you're walking?
Absolutely. My older son went to University of Pacific and my twins were at Fresno State. During the campus tour, I think my wife gave me a couple of nudges. Hey, stop, cut it out. Stop making notes. We would never let that happen. I think those are the things that we get programmed into. It gets ingrained in you.
What's a moment, especially with someone who isn't from your community, when you realized, yeah, this is why we do the work the way we do, and what happened?
When you get a phone call or a parent that calls you that's not from your community that says, wow, that was a great event. You guys have a really nice campus. It helps solidify why we do what we do. The kid was on our campus for SAT testing on a Saturday morning, and I was here for our water polo playoff game. So we had our playoff game going on. We had an event set up, and his parent was walking around campus because her daughter was here taking the SAT test. She stops me. She goes, excuse me, do you work here? I said, yeah, I do. She goes, is this a junior college? I'm thinking she probably knew where she was headed, but this place is not built that way. We have really nice trees, we have grass that's upkept, and our campus is groomed all the time. We have 2,600 plus students that go through this place, and every night and every day, this place turns over like it's brand new again. And that speaks to the work our team does, grounds, custodial, plant operations, and those folks, that's a kudos to them, but at the same time, to our staff, to our students that take care of this place.
Clovis High just hosted a really large national event. Talk about what it takes to put on the Doc B Invitational, and who do you call on?
One of my core values is success through partnership. In Clovis Unified, education is a partnership, and that is only possible if you have a team that's all on the same page. So we just held the Doc B Wrestling Invitational. 540 plus wrestlers, 160 of these students were nationally ranked. 65 plus or minus a few had Division I scholarships. So talk about one of the premier wrestling events on the Western United States. It is the hardest tournament for students to get into. Students from Oklahoma, New Jersey, Texas, everywhere. You name it, they're here. and they continue to come back because of the event that we put on. We flipped the gyms a couple times. Thousands of people walk into the gym, and when they leave, it looks like the time bomb went off. 30 minutes to an hour later, our team of plant operations comes in, our custodial staff comes in, and they flip the gym. A parent said, I can't believe this is the same gym I was just in less than an hour ago, because we turn it over. It's what we do. Teamwork and trust, get it ready for the next event. We go from wrestling all day to turn it into the finals. It's the same gym. It looks like a completely different facility. And that's the wow factor that we want to leave in not only our students, community members when they walk onto our campus, but that's only done when we have successful partnerships. I pride myself on working with our plant operations, grounds team, custodial staff, administrative team. It's a big machine. You'll find the principal, deputy principal, area superintendent helping move chairs, pick up trash. It's just what we do. There's not a task that leaders see as beneath them. That's part of that successful and healthy partnership that allows us to partner with every organization on our campuses and within our district.
You know, we've talked quite a bit about some of the major responsibilities of a DP as it relates to the big time events. What are some of the other leadership moments that you take on or oversee on a day-to-day basis?
The deputy principal is the day-to-day operations of the school site. In my job, it's my responsibility to not only have a pulse on communication, safety, events, transportation, facilities, grounds. All those pieces are things I connect with on a daily basis. My first radio call every morning starts off with our utility, Mikey Garcia, who opens the campus. And I check in with Mikey and say, how's the campus this morning? Are the boilers working? There's 38 degrees outside. And those are the things you have to have a pulse on. The day-to-day grind of the school site is my responsibility to make sure it goes seamless, that the staff is taken care of, the students are taken care of, and we're putting our best foot forward and making this a welcoming place where our students come to learn. I'm very connected to the calendar. I live off of it. I got to have an idea of what's happening today, what events need support, what are our kids involved in, where they're traveling to, what sporting events are happening, what performing arts events are our kids involved in.
In your role, what does building relationships actually look like? And can you share a moment when a tough conversation eventually turned into something really meaningful?
So those are opportunities to build relationships. Part of forming those relationships, whether it's a difficult conversation, opportunity to help a family in need or a student in crisis, is to listen, stop, and support that individual. Providing that space and stopping what we're doing, as busy as our calendar and our day might be, that's an opportunity to build that relationship, supporting an individual through an issue. The story that resonates with me is a student we suspended a few times at Clovis High and my first years at Clark. At graduation night, I found this kid on Merriman Field with his diploma. He stops and says, hey, Mr. Gill, will you take a picture with me? And I stopped to take a picture, and he said, thank you for always helping me out. Keep in mind, this is a kid that got suspended a few times for choices he made. And I was so proud in that moment that the standard that we held, the conversations that we had, made an impact on him to the point where not only I was able to take a picture with this kid, but at the same time he said thank you. That was a pretty cool moment in regards to, yes, you have suspension meetings, appeals, tough conversations with parents, and trying to tell these folks that we're trying to do the very best for their kid, and then years later, having this kid come by, thank you, and taking a picture with him on graduation night.
Let's transition to a few of Doc's philosophies and how they impact your work as a leader. What does leading through relationships look like on a normal Thursday at Clovis High?
Thursday morning, we hold LDDP. The learning directors and the deputy principals sit and we meet in a room and we go through calendars, events, things that are coming up, what are some current challenges, what are some of the things that we're working through as departments. Every interaction is an opportunity to either grow a relationship, build a new one, or expand on it. This time of the year, we're usually working on master schedule. We start to have those conversations in regards to who's going to be teaching what, how many sections of what we need. So it's a big puzzle that we put together. And it takes a team, and that team really gels in this time of the year because of the relationships of working together and how much we lean on each other in regards to those pieces. One of the things I lean on a lot is my communication that goes out. I'll send an email out and say, hey, give me some feedback on this email, because this is something I'm going to be sending out, whether it's to the staff, to the community. It's good to have a lens other than just my isolated one. That was a skill that I learned from one of my previous mentors from my previous district.
Where did you learn to directly or indirectly build relationships and trust on your campus?
That came from a gentleman by the name of Bill Vasey. Bill was a mentor in Carruthers that got me into administration. He stopped by my classroom and said, hey, what do you think about the next step? It was that tap that he sat in my classroom several times. We had some pretty deep conversations, and he was the guy that was like, what do you think about this? When I was in that first administrative role, he taught me that skill of making sure you have others' perspectives on communication that goes out. One of my first safety drills as a deputy principal, I found myself rushing through it. It was such a serious thing that we take on our campuses. There's a lot of moving parts to getting folks in the right directions and the information that we share over the PA system. And on my back, I felt a hand. Stephanie Hicks said, breathe, slow down. I constantly think about that. Just this year, we had an incident on our campus that involved a pretty high stakes safety event. She was here helping support the campus. She made note and she mentioned that to me. I told her, I still feel your hand on my back every once in a while. I think about the fire hose, how we get hit with a fire hose almost every single day. There's so much information. There's so many moving parts to our school sites. We're small cities, 2,800 plus people on our campus, including staff. And then you put a community event on, we got 4,000 or 5,000 people on our campus. There's so many moving parts. And I think it's important that we take that fire hose on and don't let it knock us on our backside. Part of that is being slow in how we respond. Don't overreact. Be calm, be cool, be collected. Feel that hand on your back. Those are things that I think about through the bumps and bruises that we're going to face them, right? What we learned from it, what was our experience, how we were coached through that, and then how did we grow from it? That's something I'll take with me. And I try to mentor the next group that when I have somebody else run a safety drill on our campus, I coach them through that piece of being calm, being cool, be collective.
Can you share a time or situation where you needed to advocate for a student or your school community? And then how does that connect with once a cougar, always a cougar?
There was a parent meeting that I was involved in. Without getting into specifics, some comments were made about our students on campus. One of my things that I'm really passionate about is making sure I'm taking care of our kids. In this parent meeting, which was about helping parent work through their issues, there were some comments that were made by these folks that I was not going to go without addressing them. The conversation and the questions that have to get asked in a very respectful, mindful way where it's not demeaning, making sure that these words and these comments are never used on our campuses. Being an advocate for our students. Some of our students are not able to take a stance and protect themselves. That's where our jobs come in. As educators, we take on a huge responsibility of protecting our students, our school site, and our communities. We take those pretty personal. We want to make sure we're taking care of our kids in a way that provides them with a safe place. And then, Mr. Gill, Mr. Lucas, and the people on this campus have their back. We take a lot of pride in that, and that's something that we take very seriously. This is my 5th year at Clovis High School. We have a saying around here, once a cougar, always a cougar. There's a lot of pride that comes with knowing that you're part of this community. I wasn't a Clovis High student, but I fight for these kids, I root for these kids in a way that they are family to me. We take pride in making sure we're taking care of these kids, whether grabbing their school lunches, getting on that bus, getting to classes, helping them get through tough situations. It's what we do to help raise kids. That doesn't just happen here at Clovis High School. It's something that happens at every one of our campuses. My kids are products of one of our sister schools. I trust that team, the coach, educate, and mentor my kids to get where they need to be. And I would never question that piece of it. And I want to be able to take that as a parent and give it back to these kids here.
As you see it, what makes this district special, and what part do you have to play in it?
High standards. Those standards we hold ourselves up to where our kids meet us at. If we lower that standard, kids are going to meet us there. If we hold that standard as high as possible, our kids are going to fight to get there. Our kids will meet us there. My responsibility is not only to the kids that we service here, but to have systems, programs in place that these kids are growing up into, that they're going to be a part of one day. We had elementary wrestlers here today from our 7-feeder schools. These kids are going to wrestle here one day. So it's my responsibility to put on events and take care of that program and support it so it's thriving when those kids get here. Who knows, I may or may not be at Clovis High at that time, but my responsibility not only to what we do on a day-to-day basis here, but also to sustain this for the kids that are coming through the system.
You talked about raising the bar and having high standards. How does that connect to our district motto of being the best in mind, body, and spirit?
Our district motto of mind, body, and spirit, and making sure that our kids are growing in each one of those categories, connects to having high standards in elements of how we operate on a day-to-day basis at school. We have high standards for our athletes. We have high standards for our students. We have high standards for how we operate around campus, the language we use, how we carry ourselves. So those are the things that get installed into our students. So when they leave here, it's not just the academics that's going to help them get through. They're going to need the spirit piece that's going to help them get through, that allows them to align with the new culture of a college or a work environment or whatever they're going to be in. If we're challenging kids to having high standards for the classroom, our students can accomplish anything they want to be. They can take on any challenge because they're going to be prepped in the mind piece of it, having that balance of the spirit piece, enjoying what they're doing. We prime our students to take on challenges by having high standards, but knowing that they're prepared in mind, body, and spirit.
Do you have any advice that you would give to a new employee about to take on a new position in Clovis Unified?
One of the things I would tell someone from the outside looking to join Clovis Unified is to go and meet with folks in our district. Don't just meet with the deputy principal, meet with the counselor, meet with teachers that teach the same content area as you, or in grounds or in maintenance or whatever it might be. And the reason why I say that is because these folks will leave with an understanding of a drive that we have that's different than other organizations. I've been in the private sector. I've worked for another district. I have that lens and that experience of what makes organizations successful. One of the things I contribute Clovis Unified to be successful is because of the people they have here. I want folks to come in, join our team, talk to different departments, and get a sense of the why behind what they do and what drives them.
You were once a new CUSD parent, so what advice would you give to a parent that is just starting out in this district?
When parents ask me, is this a good school? I ask them, is your student ready to take on the opportunities we provide? We offer it all. I look at what's available at any one of our school sites. I start to connect those dots, like why my kids were successful, why our students at Clovis High and within our district go on and do some great things, is because they took advantage of the opportunities we offer. The kids playing basketball at Vanderbilt University, or the kid that's accepted at Johns Hopkins University from our school sites. Those kids took advantages of opportunities that we offer here.
You've been surrounded by great leaders and mentors in Clovis Unified. So in the next 30 seconds, what are 2 to 3 lessons they've impressed on you that you still carry every day?
I think we learn something from every single one of the people that we work alongside. I learned passion from Teresa Barber. From Stephanie Hanks, I learned how to slow down and peel back the layers of any situation. Dr. Dilly's just been a huge mentor in the history of Clovis Unified. Learning from him and running ideas by him gives me an understanding that I'm able to not only take and apply and give to others as well.
Well, thank you, Baljit, for your time. So here's your last question. What's your hope for Clovis High? What's your hope for Clovis Unified over the next few years as we continue to grow and affect the lives of students, parents, community, and staff?
My hope for the next chapter of Clovis High students Every year we get another 25% of our campus turns over and we get a new crop of kids. My goal and my hope is that 4 years from now, they leave here equipped with skills that make them successful in post-secondary, whether they join the military, go to a trade school, go to work, junior college, whether it's a four-year university, they have options when they leave here. And I think being a secondary educator for my entire career, I reflect on that piece of getting these students ready for the next step. My hope is we continue to make Clovis High School students and Clovis Unified kids the best out there. My kids were a product of that. Being a parent allows me to see these kids and saying, okay, these are Clovis Unified kids that are going to go out and make an impact on the world in such a positive way. And then when we see that happen, the joy we get from that is the hope that we're doing the right things for these kids and making the best decisions, that they are the center of what we do, how we do it, and getting them ready to be the best they can be.
Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed hearing from someone who makes CUSD a special place for students and families. This podcast is dedicated to every classified and certificated employee who shows up each day to enrich student lives and help them be their best in mind, body, and spirit. We'll see you next time on the Doc B Podcast. As Doc always said,
Or ever forget our motto.
Sequoia.